Between aging and busy lifestyles, many women struggle with maintaining their physical and mental wellness. At Aquavita Concierge Healthcare Services for Women, we can help you revitalize your health and reclaim your life. We start from within by balancing your hormones, allowing your body to achieve and maintain desired weight goals. We also specialize in peptide therapies, regenerative medicine, sexual health, and aesthetics in our state-of-the-art facilities. Feel better, look better, live better at Aquavita. Visit aquavitality.com and begin your journey today.
No brakes, no brakes, no fear, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along to another week in British Speedway. I'm Ian Brannan, and in this week's episode, we speak to the team manager of the side currently leading the way in the Sports Insure Premiership, and a guy that's also getting ready to lead his country into battle in the Monster Energy FIM Speedway World Cup. Mark Lemon is our guest off the back of a controversial evening at the National Speedway Stadium on Monday.
Yeah, as a referee, it's a statement of fact. His decision stands. There's no argument, but certainly he should be questioned to explain the decision.
It was another win for the Leicester Lions. We hear from Max Frick.
The track was a little bit different today, and I think caught a couple of boys out, but we pulled it back in the end and finished off strong, so it was good to see.
And meanwhile at Monmore, it was superheat time between the Wolverhampton Wolves and the Peterborough Panthers, who couldn't be separated after 15 heats.
Pete actually said to us before the meeting that this should be easy, but I had to remind him that none of them are easy, and they've actually got a good team.
Next week it is the Speedway World Cup. Much more chat about that with Mark Lemon and also with Great Britain joint team manager Olly Allen.
I think in general, even if it wasn't a home track for a couple of our riders, I think it's a good, fair racetrack.
All of that to come in part 2. And we also hear from a couple of the Peterborough Panthers stars, Kristian Iversen and Ben Cook. And from the Cab Direct Championship, Paul Stark of the Birmingham Brummies. All this and more on the way on No Brakes, No Fear.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Big week ahead in Speedway as we get ready for the Monster Energy FIM Speedway World Cup. And we have the reigning champion of that with us, Mark Lemon. But first of all, we're going to ask him to put his Bellevue hat on because we're going to start at the National Speedway Stadium where, well, you may have seen it last night. All the action was happening in Manchester as the Aces kept the ball rolling at the top of the Sports Insure Premiership with a hard-fought 49-41 win over Ipswich at the National Speedway Stadium.
Into the last lap, the Bellevue Aces on a huge 5-1, which will clinch the result on the evening. So through it all, one last blast now, round the outside. Wright's going to win the race. It's all about second place. Brennan's ridden top. I tell you what, Brennan rode well there.
The Aces taking all 3 points from the meeting. They were made to work for their win in an eventful contest, though, the points only being secured in the penultimate race. Also drama in Heat 13 when Grand Prix stars Jason Doyle and Dan Bewley clashed, with the Ipswich number 1 being disqualified. The home man went down at the start of the last lap. Charles Wright and Tom Brennan racing to a 5-1 over tactical substitute Emil Saifutinov to clinch the points before a consolation maximum to the Witches in the finale. First of all, let's hear the thoughts of the losing team manager then. Chris Louis was the stand-in team manager for the evening, and he's been speaking to Scott Nichols on Eurosport.
Tough night for you boys. You knew how important it was to get a result. You hung in there, just it didn't quite happen towards the end of the meeting.
Yeah, Heat 12 really undone us, I think. Obviously, Jason's exclusion didn't help. It's a decision I expected. I feel his frustration because, he's been on the other end of that so many times this year. So I can understand why he's so frustrated. But, proud of the lads. They hung in there. They gave it a good go. It's a tough place to come. I just hope for a decent finish here in Heat 15.
It is, but sometimes just the luck of the draw just doesn't go with you. And for Jason there, like you said, it was a tough call. It could have gone either way.
Yeah, the luck went both ways. Damon Lindsay had a breakdown in one, which cost them, and obviously that decision. It is what it is.
Well, it's Chris Louis, the Ipswich co-promoter, but also the stand-in team manager for the Witches last night. And the opposite side of the pits, of course, the Bellevue Aces led by Mark Lemon. I'm pleased to say Mark Lemon joins us right now on No Brakes, No Fear. Welcome to the podcast, Mark. Thanks for joining us. It was a good night for the Bellevue Aces once again. Another big win. Certainly extends your lead at the top of the table. I think pretty much secure now as far as the playoffs are concerned, but it wasn't all plain sailing in the pits, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was long, obviously, probably a little bit wounded from our victory down there last Thursday. The fans turned out in plenty, and they were quite an ecstatic crowd at the same time. Witnessed a very, but yeah, it didn't go our way from the beginning. We had many bike problems. The mechanics certainly earned their key in the pits, and sort of a few of the boys were getting pretty frustrated because things weren't going so good, and it was a concern for me as a manager. I thought this could be a bit of a banana skin moment, but as it sort of eventually panned out, and the bikes got settled down, and it was sort of plain sailing at the end. And obviously we had a few exclusions, so we had a buffer up our sleeves. But Ipswich pushed us. It was great to see Emma Fudinoff in fine form. I think his box office and Jason Doyle, obviously the same headline act there, but he didn't have the best of nights. But to win that, clinch probably our playoffs. I mean, mathematically, it is possible for Ipswich to sort of knock us out, but realistically, we're playoff bound.
The start of this season, I remember talking at the end of last season when we last spoke, I think, but also spoken with Kelvin Tatum, and he said at the start of this season that the big question mark for Bellevue would be how they move into another season having had to make some changes to the lineup, because you're not going with exactly the same 7 that you finished last year with, and there was always perhaps that question mark of can you kick on and keep that momentum going with a few different guys in there. But it really relied on the likes of Tom Brennan and Jamin Lidsey stepping up to the plate, and they've definitely done that now, and we're seeing that. And I think you said Tom Brennan's coming of age in this last sort of couple of months, and you must be pleased to see that hope become reality, that these riders can step up a notch now and carry you through.
Yeah, I guess you look back, the program probably started back in 2019. Dan Bewley, just a youngster coming through from the Colts. We drafted in Jamin Lindsay, and that particular year we missed out on the playoffs. But the bigger version, the bigger picture was obviously to develop these riders as club assets and build a team for the future. And obviously with the Rising Star program came into itself. Tom Brennan has just come on leaps and bounds, and it's just a real credit to him how he's developed and matured, and some composure on the motorcycle. But yeah, I think the culture we have here in Bellevue, 8 years, it's definitely the mindset's changed. When I first probably come here, we were pretty happy to win a meeting, and definitely happy to win one on the road. Where now we feel an expectation, but that comes pressure. But happy to, now that the monkey's off the back with a league title, happy to take on the pressure, and boys as a collective, are really sort of, stepping up this year, better than I probably anticipated. But when you build a team at the start of the season, that's what you hope for. But a little bit of work to continue the form into the playoffs. So
you were on the wrong end of some refereeing decisions. You won the meeting, of course, over Ipswich at the National Speedway Stadium, but of course on TV everybody is able to see these replays. The referee's able to see the replays, but were you surprised at some of the decisions that went against you on Monday night? I think particularly, I know the meeting was already won, but that disqualification for Charles Wright in Heat 15 has probably left people with the most head scratching there. And Charles Wright himself has vented his thoughts on social media regarding the situation. But I mean, I think he's agreed. Obviously, it costs him money, doesn't it? It costs him points and money, and the result is inconsequential of that decision. But nonetheless, it was pretty harsh, I think, is the word or the phrase that Kelvin used.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were quite bewildered by that decision. The first instance, there may have been some movement, but as a referee, it's a statement of fact. His decision stands. There's no argument, but certainly he should be questioned to explain the decision. But he was pretty confident. He saw movement, and the rule book states that there should be no movement. But you've got a free revving motorcycle, huge flywheels, it's sort of 12,500, 13,000 revs underneath you with no suspension. So the vibration, and what the force penetrated through the clutch is a lot of energy there to sort of keep a machine still. So the reality is that it's challenging to stay still on these machines, and there's potentially going to be some sort of movement, but was there an advantage in the movement? I think that's probably the question the referee probably needs to ask himself. It's past now. We move on. Yeah, Charles is pretty annoyed about it, and so it cost him money. These boys performance-based contracts. But that's racing. You got to take the rub of the green. Sometimes it goes against you. It goes for you. But I think the referee will probably sit back and do his own analysis on that, and hopefully he can improve on that in the future. But I guess it all bands to make an exciting event. A bit of atmos building and controversy doesn't have the sport.
Yeah, but people like a bit of controversy, doesn't it? It gives people something to talk about and sets things up nicely for next time. What did you say to the referee? We saw you on the phone to him. What was your discussion with Seth?
So, we had a conversation when it happened, when it occurred. He has his take on it, and end of the day, I'm wearing glasses, so I suppose I can't comment. But a lot of other people sort of had an opinion on that one as well. But it didn't deter to the result, which is it's nice to get these things right, and especially when you've got the TV monitors to look at and restudy them and get a more clearer picture of these things. But let's not sort of distract from what a great meeting it was last night and then the performance of the team. So.
And coming up next for the Aces, it's home and away, or away and at home, actually, with the Sheffield Tigers, which is your next fixture on Thursday, and then back at the National Speedway Stadium at the end of the month. That's a big fixture in the calendar because, of course, early doors in this season, Sheffield did the double over the Aces, so that must be one score that you're looking to settle. But, of course, a side who were widely fancied from the start, they look like they, too, are favourites for the playoffs over Ipswich at this moment in time. And, of course, it was the side that you had to defeat at Ollerton to nail that championship last year.
Yeah, true. I mean, at the start of the season, we didn't get off to the best starts. It's probably quite, you look back 12 months ago, we had the same sort of scenario. Sheffield, it's a long season for any club, and you've got to peak at the right time. We're on a roll at the moment. Let's hope we're not peak too soon, but we're sort of very conscious of what's ahead of us. There's a big challenge going to Sheffield. I think the way the boys are travelling at the moment, I think we can put on a really being there and run them close. I don't want to see you and say we're going to win at Sheffield, but because I wouldn't be very disrespectful to them because they're a quality team. But the way things are going, it's just I think any team that's coming up to get the Aces at the moment is going to be up for a challenge, and we're up for the challenge itself. But I think as the top four of the playoffs, is probably starting to consolidate itself, and we can sort of study the other teams really where we can sort of compare up and match up coming up to the playoffs.
Mark Lemon of the Bellevue Aces, team manager and CEO of the club. He's going to remain with us because in the second part, we're turning our attention to the Monster Energy Speedway World Cup, which takes place next week. And of course, Mark is also the team manager of the Australian national side as well. So we're talking about the Speedway World Cup and much more from Lemo in the next part. We're just going to round up the other stuff from the rest of the Sports Insure Premiership with Leicester next up, extending their winning run to a club record of 7 in succession in the top flight, overcoming Kings Lynn 54-36 at home. Max Frick shattered the track record yet again in Heat 1, taking well over half a second off his previous best as he reeled off 4 race wins before being edged out by Nikolai Klint in Heat 15. The Stars kept things tight for the first 7 races, but then conceded 3 5-1s in 4 heats, not helped by Simon Lambert's disqualification in Heat 8 after a clash with Drew Kemp. Frick scored 14 for the Lions, with Richard Lawson adding 11 plus 2 and Chris Harris with 9 plus 1 bonus, while Clint racked up 13 plus 1 for the visitors. We'll hear from Stuart Dixon and David Hoggart in a moment, but first of all, let's hear from the star of the show for the Lions, Max Frick.
With me now, Lions number 1, Max Frick. Mac, another good performance for the team. It was tough in the first half of the meeting, but the boys pulled together in the second half.
Yeah, exactly. The track was a little bit different today, and I think caught a couple of boys out, but we pulled it back in the end and finished off strong, so it was good to see.
Great to see riders like Chris, Jake, Drew all getting within the points. Tough night for Troy on his debut, but I'm sure he'll come good in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was doing their part and everyone's chipping in, and it's a new track for Troy. I know I've been there and felt that at the start of the season, so I'm sure he'll turn around, and once he gets a few laps here and gets some fresh air and learns the track a bit more, he'll be a big part of our team.
You and Sedgy seem to have dialed up this great relationship, certainly in Heats 1. I mean, a couple of 5-1s tonight again. What is it between the two of you that suits each other on the track?
I don't know. I think we've ridden together a lot. Sedgy was there at Edinburgh years ago when I was there, so we've spent a bit of time together over the years, and we've been riding well together. So he's been riding great all season, and it's good to see.
And you was involved in a fantastic Heat 15 with Nikolai Clint, who eventually lowered your colours, but both of you gave full action, full beans on the track, and it's good to ride against a rider that's pretty safe.
Yeah, Nikolai rides his place really well, and I really enjoyed that heat. It's always a shame to come away second, but it was a great heat by him, and I really enjoyed it. I was all over the track, all over the back of him, trying to get past, but he didn't leave me any room. So it was a good fun race.
And 7 wins on the bounce now for the Lions. You go to Kingsland on Thursday, I guess, looking for number 8.
Yeah, hopefully that's the plan. Every meeting we go to, obviously that's the goal, to come away with a win. Kings Lynn have been doing better and better. They've been making some team changes, and they pushed us a lot tonight. So I think Thursday's going to be a tough one, but we're going to go there and give it our all.
Max, another great performance. Congratulations, and hopefully see you in the playoffs.
Thank you.
Yes, but it's certainly been a great season for the Leicester Lions so far, hasn't it? I think certainly outdoing what everybody expected they would do, even at the best case scenario, sitting second in the Sports Insure Premiership as it stands. And a very happy team manager, Stuart Dixon, speaking to Martin Coleman as well.
Yeah, we got there in the end. Kings Lynn put up a good fight. Scoreline maybe flatters us slightly that we won with 18 points. It didn't look to me as that much in it. We weren't gating tonight, or Kings Lynn were simply out gating us for the first few races, and they came and met us head on. We got into the groove, and as I say, the victory on paper looks a bit more comfortable than what it actually was. Yeah.
Obviously a tough first night for Troy Batchelor, but you were able to cover that with the reserves both picking up good points, and people like Harris and Lawson backing up a superstar that you got in the morning, Max Frick.
Yeah, it was. I was actually, after heat 11, there was an interval, and I was out actually putting a splash of water on the track, and I was not told that Nikolai Clint was in as a tactical, because Troy Batchelor would probably have been replaced with Jake Allen that race to counter it. So I was a bit annoyed at that, not to get told that, but we overcame it and we got there in the end.
And it was announced tonight, obviously, a first time 7 wins in the top division. You'll be going all out to make that 8 on Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday always will be tougher, as David said. Kingsland riders are used to their track. There's a more solid look about them now, but we got the win tonight, which was pleasing. Fingers crossed, the Riders Rider Championship come through their meetings on Wednesday, and we've got a full squad to go on Thursday. It'll be a tough meeting. We know it'll be tough, but we will be going there for a win. That's not being blasé, but we will be going there because that's the story of our season so far. We've been getting a lot of race wins, but we will need to pick up a wee bit in certain areas on Thursday night if we're going to get anything. Yeah.
Leicester having a terrific season, home and away, and Stuart Dixon touched on there. It's the Kingsland Stars back again on Thursday, back at the Adrian Flux Arena. Let's hear from the team manager of the Kingsland Stars, David Hogarth, reflecting on what might have been. It was all going so well until the wheels started to come off after Heat 8.
I think they did better than a lot of people would give them credit for. If we were going down fighting tonight. I think, we gave Leicester a bit of a scare in the first 7 or 8 races, without any shadow of a doubt. It wasn't easy for them at that point. But obviously, Simon got excluded in heat number 8, which, bit of hard riding, but I think a more experienced rider might have stayed on. Stuart will probably disagree with me on that one, but, that's Speedway at the end of the day. Fair to say that Artem needs to, sort of get used to the British tracks. I think he could have given a better acquittal of himself tonight, particularly in front of the Leicester supporters. They've obviously come to see him for the first time, and it would have been good if he'd put up a better show tonight.
Although the league position shows that you've had a tough season, David, Heat 15 showed Nikolai Klimt. The fight is still there within the team, and what a great ride to beat Max Frick and Dynamo Maximum.
Yeah, Nikolai Klimt is a great captain. He's a great rider. He rides in 3 leagues. He's busy, and the more rides he gets, the better he gets. He's a great guy to work with. We go through the programme together, we choose the changes together. He's very, very good. He likes the track here. When he came for the pairs and he scored 22 points, the track was really smooth that night. It was a bit slick, but he loved it. It was smooth. So he was full of confidence tonight. There was a lot more dirt on it tonight than there was for the pairs. He was full of confidence. He was going to give it some tonight, score some points.
And you must go into Thursday's return fixture with a bit of confidence that if the team can stick in the meeting a bit longer, you've got a chance of a win.
Well, it's a home track. Artem's, goes well round there, so I'd like to think he'd be back into double figures. We've got Rory Schlein as a guest, who's pretty good round Kings Lynn as well. So again, on paper, it looks like we're there or thereabouts. Everybody knows it's a tough season for Kings Lynn. We're not shying away from that, but we're not doing nothing about it. We are working away in the background, trying to come up with some solutions, so that we can get better results as time goes by.
Well, it was a very close one at Monmore Green where Wolverhampton edged out Peterborough after the bottom club pulled off a major shock by taking the meeting all the way to a superheat. The sides drew 45 all after 15 races before home duo Sam Masters and Rory Schlein got the better of Kristian Iversen and Ben Cook in the decider. The visitors had led for most of the meeting before Wolves drew level in Heat 13. Two shared heats followed, with Schlein falling in Heat 15 as Masters took the win, but the home men were fast starting in the decider. Masters with 10+2, Steve Worrell on 10, top scoring for the Wolves, whilst Ben Cook impressed with 10+3 for the Panthers, and Iversen picked up 10. Rising star Jordan Jenkins notching 9+1 as the visitors came away with still 1 league point. We will hear from Rory Schlein and Ben Cook in a moment. First of all, the thoughts of Peter Adams, the Wolves team boss, speaking with Mike Taylor from BBC Radio WM.
Peter, that was a lot harder work than I think a lot of people expected.
Yeah, me included. I think we had a chat before the start of the meeting, and I genuinely thought that these meetings are not exactly a walk in the park, but we were expecting a much more clear-cut victory than that.
Was it just one of those things, or collection of circumstances? There were one or two contentious calls in the first half of the meeting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a few mishaps early on, and so we weren't able to sort of get on top of the opposition as we normally can. But credit to Peterborough, they rode very well, and a couple of their riders who were very poor when they were last here came to the party tonight, and I think that obviously made the difference for them. But at the end of the day, we've retained our unbeaten home record. We've got the 2 points that we would have done even if we'd have won by 30 points. So it's all good.
Yes, and for the second week running, your team's managed to get out of a sticky situation, which is another good trait.
Yeah, it's a bit concerning, really, that we're not consistently dominant here. Some days we are, some days we're not. But today we weren't, and we nearly paid the price. But we didn't, and we got the 2 points that, as I say, we would have done no matter what the winning margin was.
Lukey's back, and once he dialed himself back in, seemed to be going quite well in the second half of the meeting.
Yeah, he's still got a bit of trouble with that little finger on his left hand. He can't bend that very well, so that's impeding his clutch, technique at the start of a race. But as you say, he found it near the end, and it's a good job he did.
Well, it is, and I mean, Rory, you talked at the start of the year about Rory the fire still burning in him, and I think we saw it a bit tonight, didn't we? Especially after that incident that saw him disqualified.
Yeah, he's had a good night, and in situations like that, it's always best, I think, to go with experience, and you can't get two more experienced guys than Sam and Rory, and yet again, they pulled it off when it really mattered.
Wolves team manager Peter Adams speaking to Mike Taylor from BBC Radio WM. Pete Adams there at the start of that talking about the chat that the team had beforehand. Did they underestimate the Peterborough Panthers? Did Peterborough catch them out slightly to start with? Here's Sam Masters.
Well, Sam Masters in tonight's programme notes Peter Adams said this was a potential banana skin and very almost.
Yeah, Pete actually said to us before the meeting that this should be easy, but I had to remind him that none of them are easy, and they've actually got a good team. Why they've been struggling, I don't know. Maybe a few injuries, or I'm not sure. But they've got a strong team, and they pushed us tonight, obviously. And you know, we had a couple of, I don't know, what do you say? The track caught us out a little bit, to be honest, and at times. But, you know, Zach's been really good for us down at reserve today, and he's had he's been injured, obviously a big smash last week, and normally he's scoring double figures, and tonight when you're reserve, you doesn't do that, and you're used to it. It makes it a little bit hard. So he'll be back. I'm actually glad he's even riding.
Yeah. Along the way, a couple of decisions which didn't go the Wolves' way when Ryan Douglas and Rory Schlein hit the deck. What was the team's take on those?
Yeah, I think that first, again, a couple of bad decisions against us. He did get his front wheel taken out. Last week it was the same. There's a rule called first corner bunching, but sometimes they don't use it, unfortunately. And a bit of bad luck there too, but that's the way it goes.
Like you say, in the end, it's 2 points added. Nevertheless, just a bit of extra drama and excitement for the supporters. But obviously, yourself going out doing the job in both. But for Rory to pick himself up off the dirt in heat 15 to go and get that super heat, a big moment for him.
Yeah, he was fast all night. Rory's really really quick today. So just a bit of a mistake, obviously in 13. But he redeemed himself in heat 15, and we got the job done. So it would have been nice to win the meeting instead of a draw, but we battle on.
Yeah, and with a couple of away meetings now, the next 2 Mondays at Sheffield and Peterborough, 3 weeks till you're back here against Leicester, it was important to add some points to the tally tonight.
Yeah, that's right. We've got to try and aim on winning all our home meetings and try and pick up a few on the road. It's not going to be easy, but we'll battle on.
Sam, well done to you and the Wolves.
Cheers.
Well, Rory Schlein for the second week running here at Monmouth Green, that was certainly a tense night at Speedway.
Yeah, it's obviously not the way we imagined it or planned it, but sometimes, you got to get stuck in and look. We can overanalyze it and say where we went wrong or did this, or we just got the 2 points. I think that's all that matters. I think. Yeah,
it just goes to show you can never underestimate anyone in Speedway. Like say, Peterborough, a terrible record on the road. You with a 100% record here, but it goes to show anything can happen on the night.
Yeah, pretty much. Definitely had a little bit of bad luck. A few decisions went against us, but you got to take the good with the bad, and I think we definitely weren't firing on all cylinders. Dougie had some bad luck, he just couldn't get dialed in. Luke was, he's obviously come back from injuries. Zach, still battered and bruised, so we weren't firing on all cylinders. So to get the points, that's all that matters. So that's how we have to look at it. The guys will only get better, who have been off and obviously a bit battered and bruised, and it'll be a different story next time.
You mentioned a couple of the decisions which seemed to split opinion on the terraces there. One involved yourself with Benjamin Basso in Heat 7, I think it was. What was your take on it, and how did you see it from your point of view?
I don't know. I was told that he didn't change his line. How he goes from the inside going into the corner, and then we're 3/4 of the way up coming off the corner. I find that hard to believe how he hasn't changed his line. So, look, the referee's seen it another way. He made a call. I just think it was a bad one.
Yeah, like you say, went down to a last heat decider. You obviously came off in that one on the back straight as well. But to pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and go out and win that super heat for the team, a great amount of character there.
Yeah, we gate 3 wasn't great, so we made an aggressive change, and wasn't expecting it to be that aggressive, and it caught me out. Just lucky I didn't collect anyone, and got it laid down. But it hurt us a little bit. But made another change. Was better for obviously the race off, and me and Sammy sealed the deal.
And like you say, 3 weeks till the next home meeting, 2 away meetings coming against Sheffield and Peterborough now. So like you say, it was crucial to get those 2 points again here tonight.
Definitely. We want to try and keep this home record going, and so we're happy with that. Just 2 points on the board. That's how we're going to look at it.
Well, a point on the board for the Peterborough Panthers is certainly a welcome point. They've been hard to come by so far this season. Let's hear from the 2 top scorers for the Panthers at Monmouth Green. In a moment, we'll hear from Ben Cook, but first of all, here's Niels Kristian Iversen.
Well, Niels, I know there's some initial disappointment to miss out on the Super Heat, but nevertheless, when you consider the Panthers' run on the road this season, that's a terrific result when you look at it.
Yeah, I think the result was good. Obviously, it's a shame that we couldn't manage to get the win. Obviously we lost the super heat, but we lost a few points along the way as well. Myself included. I dropped a couple of points when I finished second, and in reality, with a little bit of clever racing, then I would have probably won the two more heats. But again, it's racing, and it's the small things which makes the difference today. So it's definitely a lot of improving. Considered we have been beaten quite heavily in meetings lately. So no, there's some positive to sort of take with us.
And not only considering Peterborough's form on the road, but also Wolves' record here at Monmouth Green as well.
You know, they have it's a typical home track advantage here. You know, it took me a few heats to get proper settled. Also today, and you know, obviously when you race here every week, they have home track specialists, and you know, it's the way it is to come here. But no, we did a good run, and it was the small things between winning and losing today.
And like you say, going to Ipswich on Thursday, and then there's a whole host of home meetings still to come as well. So hopefully this can inspire the Panthers to end the season on a much more positive note, at least.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think if we take some of this to Ipswich, you know, we might get a good result there too. They've been struggling a little bit too. You know, obviously they have the strongest top two in the league, but I would say the rest of the team we should be able to match. So yeah, it's a lot of racing to go, and you know, if you can win some meetings on the road, it would be good. But I think you know, the home meetings we should be able to win. When we start to race more regularly at home, then we should be able to pick up better form there too.
Yeah, and just very finally on an individual basis, into double figures tonight, and that must be a massive relief, because I know some of your results this season have proved to be a big frustration for yourself along the way.
Yeah, it's been frustrating a few times, but I think lately I got 10 points at Leicester as well, and even with the exclusion, and 12 at Ipswich, and so yeah, it's been alright. I sort of feel more dialed into the different tracks here now, and I think Peterborough should be able to produce even better. You know, the track suits me a lot better there than it does on most away meetings. So yeah, hopefully there's better things to come.
Niels, many thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Well, Ben Cook, I know there's obviously a bit of disappointment after missing out in the Super Heat, but nevertheless, the first points on the road for Peterborough, and a tremendous effort here tonight.
Yeah, it was much better from all the boys, and a bit better from myself as well. Last time I was here, I got 3 zeros, I think, but yeah, it was much better tonight from, like I said, from all of us, and you know, trying to eliminate those last places, and I think it surprised us all that we could get it to the last heat decider, but we just missed out. But we've got to go back to our place, and we've only had about 3 or 4 meetings, so still a bit to come yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially with Wolverhampton's 100% record here as well, that probably makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, for sure. These boys are good around here. They've done plenty of laps, and like I said, it was good to get it close, but it would have been nice to get the win, but I'm sure it'll happen.
And while the points haven't been coming, the boys have been sticking together, sticking with that belief that they will pick up wins between now and the end of the season. And like I say, there was a real team camaraderie in the pits tonight.
Yeah, it hasn't been easy this season. We've not had a full team many times, but we're all kind of gelling together a bit now. Me and Bassel at 3 and 4, you know, tonight had a good partnership, and if we can continue that, you know, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, and like you say, for yourself, you've already touched upon it, but does that show your own progression? Obviously, I think you failed to score a point last time you were here earlier in the season, so to do what you've done tonight, that's a massive step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's definitely a confidence booster, that's for sure, but like I said, it's a tough track to come to, and you know, it's only my second time here, so the first time's a bit of an eye-opener, and but the second time you're here, it's you kind of got a bit more of an idea, and got to make starts because it's a tough gig from the back.
Ben, well done to you and the boys tonight.
Thank you, cheers.
Yeah, Ben Cook having another great performance for the Peterborough Panthers, this time on the road. So let's have a look at the Sports Insure Premiership table as it stands. The Bellevue Aces lead the way at the top of the table. 19 meetings ridden and 35 points on the board. The Leicester Lions in second place with 13 meetings ridden and 25 points on the board. Leicester can still finish the table at the top, but of course they need to win those fixtures, but they've certainly laid down the marker for the rest of the teams below them. Wolverhampton Wolves have ridden 15 on 24 points in third. Sheffield are fourth currently. They've ridden 13 meetings and on 20 points, 5 points ahead of the Ipswich Witches, who've ridden 3 more meetings, having ridden 16 and on 15 points. King's Lynn Stars are in sixth, 14 ridden and 7 points on the board. And the Peterborough Panthers, having so long had 2 points on the board, now move on to 3 after 14 meetings. So they've got another one there after that superheat at Monmore. Looking at the fixtures that are coming up over the course of the next few days, well, it's a big day on Thursday. We've got 6 out of 7 clubs in action. The Sheffield Tigers up against the Bellevue Aces at Oleton on Thursday. King's Lynn Stars versus the Leicester Lions. The Ipswich Witches versus the Peterborough Panthers. So a busy time in the Sports Insure Premiership with only Wolves not in action on Thursday. The rest of the sides are racing. And then on Monday next week, the 24th of July, the Peterborough Panthers versus the King's Lynn Stars. The Sheffield Tigers hosting the Wolverhampton Wolves. So Monday night Speedway at Oleton, and it's not on the telly. The TV fixture is Peterborough versus King's Lynn, but Monday racing at Oleton on the 24th of July, and they're racing this Thursday. So 2 home fixtures back-to-back for the Sheffield Tigers. On that note, here is the Sheffield team manager, Simon Stead, looking ahead to that Roses clash between the Sheffield Tigers and the Bellevue Aces on Thursday.
Well, they're always tasty fixtures, so one that's got significant importance to how the league table's stacking up at the moment. We need to continue our good vein of form. Obviously, since the defeat against Leicester, our form's been really, really good. And we need for that to continue. Bellevue have been sitting pretty up the top for quite some time now, but they've also had a significant amount more fixtures than most of the others. So it's time to start chipping away at that deficit, and we can make a good start with that on Thursday.
Like you say, the result against Ipswich last Monday was obviously a pretty significant one, but had Thursday's meeting at Peterborough gone ahead, you had the chance to jump into second, and that shows how tight it is up there now.
Yeah, that's right. So I think we all have a really good understanding of how important every single fixture is now. So yes, the result against Ipswich on Thursday was really good and significant, but that can be blown out of the water with a slip up anywhere. So we need to keep our heads down, continue racing and riding together as a team, helping each other, and continue our way up the table.
Always a great crowd for that fixture anyway, but like we said, because of the form of the two teams, probably get a few more from Manchester coming in. It's something that the club really needs as well at this time of year.
Yeah, that's right. Looking forward to it. Look, it's always a great clash. With the racing's always really good. The fans really buy into it, don't they? And I think the riders also understand the importance of that fixture as well. So we all want the bragging rights. So let's hope that we can get them.
Bellevue Aces then, the visitors at Oleton on Thursday, up against the Sheffield Tigers. That War of the Roses clash continues for its second part back in Manchester at the end of the month. In between time, we have the FIM Monster Energy Speedway World Cup. And of course, Simon Stead is the Great Britain team manager. We've got his partner in crime there, Olly Allen, joining us in the next part of No Brakes, No Fear. And we hear from Mark Lemon, who of course is the team manager of the Australian national team, and of course they won the Speedway of Nations last year. So much more with Mark Lemon. We'll hear a bit from Olly Allen in the next part of No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back to No Breaks, No Fear. The spotlight in this section is on the Monster Energy FIM Speedway World Cup, which is finally upon us, and it takes place next week at Wroclaw in Poland, getting underway on Tuesday and then Wednesday with the two semi-finals. There's the race-off on the Friday, and then the big final event, the World Cup final, next Saturday. Now, our main guest in this episode is Mark Lemon, the team manager of Team Australia. We'll hear from Mark in a moment. First of all, a little snippet of an interview that I've done with Kelvin Tatum for Kelvin's own podcast, which is called Tatum Talks, and it'll be out later this week. But a long chat with Olly Allen, who's the joint team manager of the Great Britain team. We discuss everything that you possibly could ever want to know about the situation with Great Britain heading into this tournament. But here's just a little snippet of it. And it's Ollie and I and Kelvin talking about Wroclaw as a venue and how really, when you consider Dan Bewley and Ty Woffenden, it's their home track in Poland and a lot of experience around there, that we shouldn't be fearing anything heading into this tournament.
It's a good venue for us. I think... obviously we've got two riders that it's their home track. So Dan Bewley and Ty Woffenden have done a lot of laps there. Robert likes it. And I think in general, even if it wasn't a home track for a couple of our riders, I think it's a good, fair racetrack that, if you're on form and you're riding well, then you've got a chance. If you've got speed, you'll win races. Yeah, I think it's like you say, Kelvin. It has been kind to us in the past, but regardless of that, I still think it's a venue that we'd be looking forward to.
You can't take every single rider to the tournament, and it must be very hard deciding on who to take. But I just wondered if you can talk us through, firstly, sort of your scouting process, how you keep tabs on all the different riders, and how you make a decision really of who you're going to take. What does it boil down to? And people will look at the British form, of course, of riders, but sometimes, especially as you've alluded to there, obviously this is happening in Poland, and how important is the Polish form of these riders going into this tournament?
Yeah, I knew we'd touch on that. You're right. You do look at, first of all, when it comes to picking the team for the World Cup, as soon as the venue's announced, last year, you're thinking already about who would go well there. And then, you're always keeping an eye on certain people and seeing what their form's like. And I think when it comes to picking a team for a World Championship event, you look at, the first thing you've got to look at is where it's held. What track is it on? Who has Polish experience? Who has... who's riding there regularly. For me, that counts a lot. I think if this event was in the UK, then maybe the squad looks different, but it's not. It's so we're looking at riders that have experience out there, because as Kelvin will tell you, and I'm sure he better do, the Polish league, Polish Speedway is very different. I say very different. You're all turning left. It's it's the same bikes and everything like that. But it is a different ball game completely. And you can be very quick at Wolverhampton on a Monday, but when you turn up to Wroclaw on a Sunday, if you've not got the right gear and you've not got the right riding style as well, that's another thing. Then you'll be slow and you'll be eaten alive. So that does come into it.
The first three pick themselves. You've named Ty as your captain. Ty's form at Grand Prix this year hasn't been as good as it might be. Does that concern you, Ollie? Because obviously, the poor Prague, he's not going as well as he has been in Grand Prix, certainly the last two seasons. And or do you feel that maybe potentially riding in the World Cup, that will inspire him to ride to his best again?
Historically, for us, regardless of Ty's form at that time, whenever he competes for us in a Great Britain event, he's fantastic. He's brilliant. He raises his game. He was brilliant at Bellevue before he got injured. I think at Voyens he had a 0 and then 5 wins in the semi. And I think Ty's performance in Voyens was the most dominant of any individual rider from any team. that in that Speedway Nations prior to him getting an off-track injury. I think Ty loves racing for Great Britain. I think he's really motivated to ride, and I think he thrives on being a leader. I think Ty's one of those people where the more pressure I think the better he is, and he loves being number one and loves being captain, because I just think that built him up a little bit and he performs better. And I think it suits him. He wants to lead the team. I think at the moment Dan and Robert are their form in the Grand Prix is better than Ty's, but I don't have any doubts over him when it comes to these team events. The other thing is, in Ty's head, and I know this from speaking to him, he feels like he's not won a medal yet, because when we won in Bellevue, Ty was injured. When we got a silver last year, Ty was injured. Now he took part in the sort of qualifying process, but he is desperate to win a gold medal for the team, and doesn't even class the gold Bellevue as his, because he feels like he didn't do it. So I know how motivated he is for this. So I don't have my doubts about Ty.
Olly Allen, the joint team manager of the Great Britain Speedway team, along with Simon Stead, of course. And you can hear more of that interview on Kelvin Tatum's own podcast, which is called Tatum Talks. And that will be fully out later this week. But a much longer chat with Olly Allen about the British team and the riders that make that up. And also a look through the rest of the World Cup stuff, a full World Cup preview, looking at all the sides and much more as well. So that will be around later in the week. You just search for Tatum Talks Speedway and you'll find it. Right now, though, let's get back on track for this episode. And, our next guest is a man we've already heard from, but Mark Lemon, who is not only the team manager of Bellevue, but, of course, the Speedway of Nations winning manager of the Australian Speedway team as well. And they've got a cracking lineup and a cracking selection of riders to choose from. And it's a busy week for Lemo because, of course, you still got your meeting with Bellevue and Sheffield heading over the Pennines on Thursday, and then straight off to Wroclaw, I guess. So it's a busy time for you and the boys.
Well, I'll just change my jacket and my cap, shall I?
Yeah, quick change.
Yeah, we're in a very fortunate position, Australia, that we do have the depth. You look at the number of riders that we have over here. In Europe, it's above 30, which is pretty good when you compare it against a lot of other nations. So we have a lot of good competitive riders out there to choose from. Even you mentioned that the squad of 10 is probably Josh Pickering and Justin Sedgman, two that probably have had pretty good form this season that missed the cut, but you've got to you draw the line, and if it comes down to the nitty gritty of it all, it's probably we focus more on where the World Cup is staged, and it's been on this year, so you've got to sort of challenge your thoughts more around the Polish form and the leagues and the standards, what level they're riding at. And that probably really comes down to the final choices as well. So got to narrow that down tomorrow, which is not a very easy decision to make. But someone's going to be disappointed and someone's going to be ecstatic. So it's Paul's one aim and ambition that we have as a collective. So the good thing about these, as much as they're probably the one's going to be disappointed, it's about trying to win the main goal for Australia. So we all woke up last year as a group, and we go into this, or Speedway Nations, I should say, and we go into the World Cup as a group.
Of course, as you say, you've got this momentum in your sails here, having won the Speedway of Nations, and these riders, in some cases, ride with each other in the leagues as well. In your group, you're separate from Great Britain. You're in semi-final 2. You've got Denmark, Finland, and France in your semi-final. Denmark, I guess, are the danger team there. They've got some well-known riders. Nicky Pedersen has selected himself, and he's the team manager. Leon Madsen, Anders Thomsen, Iversen, Mikkel Mikkelsen, Michael Jepsen Jensen, Rasmus Jensen, some big names from European Speedway, some well-known names from British Speedway as well for the fans to keep an eye on. But never underestimate the likes of Finland and France, because there's always a little bit of a surprise in these sort of competitions, aren't there?
Yeah, naturally you want to avoid the race off. It's just one of those meetings you just do not want to be in. Anything can happen, and we saw it some years ago. I think a certain Greg Hancock, had a 21 maximum and nearly pipped us in the race off, and Russia beat us in 2007 and then the race off without Grisha Laguda and their team. So that's the meeting we definitely want to avoid. So the more importance on the semi-final, you mentioned Denmark, probably two really strong nations. France probably just lacked the depth to get the four good riders, but they still have some pretty good riders, heading themselves. But yeah, Denmark's our probably our nearest rival for that event, and we can't underestimate them. And they've got some good form. They've got 3 riders in the Grand Prix, so it's kind of level playing field when it comes to team picking.
In the grand final, of course, Poland are already assured to be there, being the hosts. You would argue perhaps that outside of Bartosz Szmartlik, that some of their other stars like Janowski and Patrick Dudek maybe a little bit more inconsistent of late than perhaps they have been in previous years, and maybe that gives everyone a little bit of hope potentially. But nonetheless, of course, on home shale, they are likely to be formidable opposition.
Yeah, you would never rule Poland out in Poland. They haven't had that much success come to winning events in their home country. So the record passed sort of probably the pressure maybe a little bit. Hopefully that's going to be the case this time around. But and I still don't like how our home nations get straight through the final. It's a World Cup competition. You should be there on merit. If you have to make the final, you shouldn't just be seeded. But I understand why they do it, but for me, I think you could have 2 places from the semi-finals go through, or there's a better way to do it, I think, than just see the nation straight through. But I don't make the rules. We just have to deal with what we've got. And for Australia's point of view, and you look at the other semi-final, Sweden and Britain, Great Britain obviously got some depth this year. Now we've obviously 3 Grand Prix riders. And Sweden, they're probably not as strong on paper, but it's really strange when you come into a World Cup campaign and the teams get together. The intensity level just raises that bar even more. I think for us as Aussies, we certainly prefer the Speedway World Cup. We love the competition, and we've been waiting for this moment. And we actually made a pact on the podium last year. When we won the Speedway Nations, that we're gunning for the 23 Speedway World Cup.
Well, you got the wind in your sails and the momentum from the Speedway of Nations last year, of course. One thing that's different this year for fans is and managers, I suppose, as well. The 1 to 5 that you pick, rider number 5 is a wild card, is a reserve that you can put in 5 times, but you can choose where they go. But that can be any rider this time. It doesn't have to be an upcoming young rider or anything like that. You can put Bartosz Szmartlik at number 5 if you're the Polish manager, and you can choose which heat he goes in. You can play him as you see fit and make sure that he has the favoured gate every time or what have you. Have you had any thoughts about how you're going to work that? And it's going to be fascinating to see how the different managers work this system, if they are going to work it to its possible potential.
Yeah, it's very challenging, but honestly, do you risk it, putting your best rider at reserve and just slotting in anywhere, and potentially with the best gates, or loading the event at the end of the night? You keep it sort of a constant sort of program for the boys, so that they know where they're at on a level playing field. It has its pros and cons, but as probably a rider, you probably don't prefer it, because you want to know where you're going out, and you can get the mindset to switch on and switch off. Whether you start at and all of a sudden it's the green light's on and you're out there and you're throwing heat after heat, it can be quite tough on the machine, let alone the man. But we're interested in what some of the managers do. We've got an idea how we're going to play it out. But I think probably the organisers, the FIM, definitely have got the tournament much more configuration better, because you can go into the race off with your 1 to 5, and you're not stuck with that for the whole tournament. So you can actually change it. So if you go to the race off, you can readjust that 1 to 5 from any of your riders out of the squad, and same for the final. So I think that gives you a lot more scope that you can use your squad better. But I think if you're on form and you're going into be challenging for the World Cup, you're pretty much not going to want to change too.
So it's all to race for, literally, in the Monster Energy FIM Speedway World Cup, and it gets underway next week. On Tuesday, that's July 25th, it's semi-final 1, featuring Great Britain, Sweden, the Czech Republic and Germany. And then we've got semi-final 2 the day after on the Wednesday, Australia, Denmark, Finland and France. The winners of those semi-finals go, of course, straight through to the main final event. Then the second and third place teams in both semi-finals go through to the race-off, and only the winner gets through to the final from there. So it's the 2 semi-final winners, the race-off winner, and Poland in the World Cup final. So one to watch out for, and of course it will be on Discovery Plus and Eurosport for those events next week. Another event that is taking place very soon, another FIM event, and with a difference, coming to the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester, is the FIM World Flat Track Championships, which comes to the National Speedway Stadium on August the 5th. Now, this is something a little bit different, but it does have a lot of similarity with Speedway. It can be different, though, because on the tracks, it depends where they're riding, but they have the unique thing where they slide the bike the opposite direction to what Speedway fans are used to, but not always. And I know you have had some flat track at the National Speedway Stadium already, haven't you? And it is popular with Speedway riders in general. But tell us about this event that's happening very soon. Something for Speedway fans to be able to immediately relate to, but a different form of the sport in many ways.
Yeah, that's true. Like some tracks have dog legs, so they actually can turn, and that's quite interesting. But in this scenario, the FIM have got the Flat Track World Championship up running in a multiple series. It's not the first time this has happened, but it's the first time it's come to the UK. We're delighted in Manchester to be able to host the first round of the Flat Track World Championship. And you've got competitors coming from all over the globe. So you've got someone from America, you've got Jared Brooks coming from Australia, and there's a host of Italians and other foreigners. Like the Italians are really dominating the sport at the moment, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But you've got a couple of local guys, Jack Belle and Tim Need. So they're pretty quick around here. They've been here and had some testing, and then we've got some more testing on August the 31st. So that the fans can come and sort of see it firsthand to get a glimpse of what's going to happen August the 5th. But really excited about it. To have a World Championship event in this fantastic stadium we have here in Manchester is what it was built for. Rumbling machines go around there with these 6 in a race. There's 32 competitors. It's going to be a pretty red hot show.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And unlike Speedway, what's happened with flat track is that the engines, the manufacturers of the bikes are more mainstream companies. The likes of Honda or whoever are involved in making the engines, and so you've got riders who are sponsored by these companies, factory riders as such, which you don't tend to get so much in Speedway. I know riders in flat track have huge sponsorship deals, and it's a different world to Speedway from that aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, the manufacturers are definitely getting behind this. It's really great to see, and I can see the sport expanding. But a lot of Speedway riders practice in the winter on the flat track bikes, like their cross bikes, and the tyres on and just lower the suspension and go out there and have a skid. I mean, like Dan Bewley, he's got a flat track bike himself, and he spends many a time down here having a practice, and he's quite envious of competition. So yeah, and we've had many a pass for Speedway to be quite successful flat trackers. So yeah, there's definitely a link. And like I said, they're more in a race, more races, and it's going to be pretty.
On the subject of FIM events, one of the questions that always comes up is why doesn't Bellevue have a Grand Prix, and it's one of the questions: are there going to be more major events at Bellevue because it's such a great track? There is always that question about getting the people in there in sufficient numbers. I know that it has been explored a little bit over the last year or two about whether you could get a Grand Prix to work in Manchester. Is there any further update on that, and anything on the horizon that you can see Bellevue hosting in the near or distant future with regards to something like that?
Yeah, in a pipe dream, it'd be fantastic to have a Grand Prix at Manchester. And I think I too would be absolutely in awe if there was a Grand Prix here. The racing we have, like say for the Peter Craven, when we have 16 of the best riders around this track, it's phenomenal. It deserves a Grand Prix. Capacity is obviously the major concern, but when you see some of the Grand Prix that are on the circuit at the moment, you kind of scratch your head and wonder why Manchester hasn't probably got one, and maybe not as a second Grand Prix in the UK. But I'm sure there's challenges for that reason why there isn't. But maybe one day. So, hope and see. Keep your fingers crossed.
Okay, watch this space with interest. One other event that is going on at the National Speedway Stadium soon, the ATPI Women's Academy, which was launched a couple of weeks ago with the support of the FIM, and this is a world-leading programme to improve the participation of women in the sport of speedway. Katie Gordon and Selina Liebman were there, and Selina, surely the world's leading female rider of this moment in time, and from what I hear, it's potentially we're not too far away from seeing her and other female riders get selected into teams in the UK now. Do you feel that as a team manager we're a million miles away from that day?
I don't think so. I think probably the numbers of women participation is probably the downside, what probably hasn't picked up enough. I think the sport itself probably hasn't been inclusive enough, and that needs to change. And this Women's Academy, backed by the FIM Women's Commission, it's an absolute fantastic concept and something that's been long overdue. I mean, you look at other disciplines in motorcycling, and there's women's activities, abound. And Speedway's just not really gripped it. But it's nothing new to see women racing speedway bikes. I've had back in 2001, I think it was. We had Jessica Lamb race for Somerset in what was like the second tier, the Premier League, I think it was called. But you talked about Selina Liebman. A talent on a motorbike. Definitely holds her own at any level. And I know she wants to come and race in the UK. So I would be surprised not to see her racing here in the UK next year. And that'd be an absolutely great, injection for British Speedway. Not because it's like a box ticking exercise that we need to tick, but she's competitive, and I think she'll inspire a lot of other women to take the sport up. And if we can do that, that's great. I think we need to create more opportunity in speedway for people to get involved. It's one of these niche sports that you seem to have to be a generation kind of member of the family to get involved in the sport, because it's just sort of hard to sort of have doors open for you. But and that's got to change. So this is a step in the right direction. Pretty excited to see the Women's Academy here in Manchester. It's the first time in the UK. It happened last year in Germany. We've got women traveling all over the globe for it. So it's hopefully going to be the start of a new generation of women in speedway. But I think they've got 16 women set up for this event. It's going to go over 2 days, the 4th and the 5th of August, Friday the 4th and the 5th, and that's going to be pretty cool. We've got Jason Crump and Greg Hancock going to be on hand for cheering these women, and we're obviously going to have a fans evening on the Friday night in the stadium here as well. So the guest speakers will be Jason and Greg, so sure for everyone to come and join in that. But it'd be great for these women to sort of rub shoulders with the likes of Greg and Jason to get some of their knowledge. And like I said, I felt like probably in the past they just haven't been felt inclusive enough, and I think this academy is definitely changing that. So it's great to see, and can't wait to see the girls in action, especially around this track. In Manchester, it's probably the perfect place for them. It's perfect place for any racer, to be quite honest. But and probably a little bit jealous that they're going to get out there and have the practice on the track all day long. But I'm sure they're going to enjoy it.
And Selina Liebman went on Katie Gordon's bike, and she went around Redcar, I think it was, and I think matched the heat time that was the same as Danny King the day before, or something like that. So it was very, very quick, and on par, absolutely on par with the meeting the day before. And she was riding on a track that probably wasn't quite as well prepared, you could argue as well. But also shows that Katie Gordon's bike's got some speed in it too.
I think Katie Gordon's bike, got a bit of a thrashing, and needed a few more parts after she left it. So Katie's gonna have to step the standards up on Henry. But I think this is a good thing about it, getting more active and more involved, and seeing this the merge. Whether it's man or woman, is just a really good thing. But pretty excited about it. But just seeing Selena in action, she rides a bike really nice and got great style. And our very own Norik Baldoon, he's been in past races, and I as a national manager for Australia, I think it was back in 2014, in Prague for the 250 World Championship. She took some pretty big scalps in that competition too.
Okay, well, good luck with that and the Flat Track Championships, and of course everything that's coming up for the Bellevue Aces and Team Australia in the Monster Energy FIM Speedway World Cup next week. And thanks for joining us as ever, Mark Lemon.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Coming up in the final part of No Brakes, No Fear, well, there's more Bellevue Aces content because we have the British Under-21 champion, Connor Bailey, who's a rising star with the Aces and also a rider for the Redcar Bears and the Workington Comets, sealed the Under-21 championship at Glasgow last weekend. We also look ahead to the event coming up at Glasgow this weekend, the final of the BSN Series. And we've also got a chat with Paul Stark as well, who's a new addition to the Birmingham Brummies. All on the way in the final part of No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Into part 3 and a few things to get through before we finish this week's episode of No Brakes, No Fear, and we turn our attention to the British Under-21 Championship, which happened in Glasgow on Sunday afternoon, and down in the grand final it really was a matchup of 4 of the top rising stars of British Speedway. Connor Bailey, Dan Gilks, Anders Rowe and Dan Thompson fighting it out for the crown.
Connor Bailey is really winding it on here into the final lap of the Under-21 Championship. What a move from Connor Bailey. This is going to go right down to the line. Connor Bailey in the final lap over Dan Thompson. What a thrilling end to this afternoon of Speedway. Wow. And it's Connor Bailey who becomes the British Under-21 champion. And what a finish to that race. All 4 riders playing their part there. And what a result for Connor Bailey.
It really was a superb afternoon of racing, some of the closest racing I've seen all year. Probably some of the closest racing you're likely to see all year anywhere, to be honest, with a couple of races going right down to the finish line. And Connor Bailey there at one point was 4th in that race, and lap by lap he clawed a position back, finishing at the end in 1st, of course. But it was all thanks to a superb move, a great and very brave dive bomb up the inside that Chris Harris himself will be absolutely proud of, and he's been reflecting on that move and the win with Greg Blair on BSN.
That was the 50-50 coin flip, whether it's the fence or the trophy. So, yeah, no, he gave me the room, to be fair, and it looks a lot harsher than I felt it was when I was on the track, but you got to do what you got to do. It's win or lose.
It's a British final. You can't make friends on the track when you're doing that. You've got to go out and do whatever it takes. But all day, I mean, I have to say I did tip you at the start of this meeting. I never done it on camera, I wish I did, but I did say if I was a betting man, because your form at the moment's been fantastic. You've been riding really well for Workington. You're doing great things at Redcar as well, and now you're up at Bellevue as well now, so things going really good for you.
Yeah, I think being busy is really good. I'm doing a lot of riding and I'm just very familiar on the bike. You wouldn't chuck it around like that if you're not feeling the bike, so yeah, I'm just enjoying being busy. We only get to do it for half the year, so I'm just taking everything that's offered and see what comes of it.
Well, there you go. Well, congratulations again, Connor, on winning the British Under-21 title. I will let you go and get celebrating with everyone.
I've got a bike wash now.
You got a bike wash now?
Bellevue tomorrow. Curse of being busy, but
well, there you go. I'm sure you'll find some time to celebrate it and try get some sleep tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
So from winning a title to doing a bike wash, and that's exactly what he did round the back of Glasgow Stadium after the event. Conor Bailey, congratulations to him on becoming the 2023 British Under-21 champion. It was a terrific battle, and 3 of the 4 riders led the race at one point. One of those, and the leader for the majority of the race, in fact, was Dan Thompson. And Conor Bailey finding his way through into the final lap, and he's also been speaking to Greg Blair on BSN.
Yeah, I mean, Glasgow's not a track I've enjoyed before, and I've never had any good results around there, so I didn't have high expectations going into today, as well as I've done off form all season, really. I haven't found my feet at all, and no, it was definitely a good performance to put in today, and good, I couldn't hang on to that in the final.
And has that lifted the confidence for you a little bit? You know, you're saying that you've not had the best at the time so far. Is that today's meeting, you know, you went out there, you've beat some really strong riders?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen obviously a lot of comments of people of being in the Premiership and that, saying one of the weakest rising stars and that, so it was definitely good to put in a shift today and beat a lot of them who were in the top league with me.
Exactly that, but you get these keyboard warriors all the time. It's quite a lot of Speedway fans do like having to moan about something. They're never happy unless they're moaning, but I think your performance today, you know, you made it in, you got to the final, you led the final for quite a while, and Conor Bailey just kept winding it up and going around the outside, and you know, I think he was either going to be in the bottom of the fence or he was going to win it, and that was the only way he was going to do it. But you rode really well, and it was very impressive to see. And when have you got your next meeting? Because you'll have your debut coming up for Plymouth soon, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I've meant to start for Plymouth the last week, I think, and I've had 4 rain-offs with them already, so yeah, I'm at Bellevue tomorrow with Ipswich. That's been a really enjoyable experience, and they've been really, really good to me, so I'm grateful for that, and just looking to keep enjoying my racing.
And you'll be getting quite a lot of great experience riding there as well. I mean, the guys will be looking after you, you'll be learning the whole time you're there. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Emil, Jason, Danny at Ipswich, they're all really helpful to me, and obviously it's tough as a youngster being on a track like Ipswich as well. The way it's prepared, it's really tough, but I'm learning, and that's the main thing, is just to keep pushing now.
So a big day at Ashfield, and well, for Glasgow Tigers, it's a big week ahead in the Cab Direct Championship. And looking back, first of all, to their fixture last week, where the Tigers made it 6 wins out of 6 in the Cab Direct Championship, with number 1 Chris Harris scoring a spectacular 15-point maximum at Birmingham. He went through the card from 5 rides on his old home track as the Tigers won 53-36. Tom Brennan adding 11 plus 2, and reserve Alfie Botel getting in on the action as well, clocking up 14 from 7 outings for the Brummies, who were unable to field Nick Morris at number 1 after he was deemed unfit to race in the build-up to the meeting. There was no facility available. We'll talk more about that in a second. For the Birmingham Brummies, they of course gave a debut to Paul Stark on his first appearance for the Brummies since making the move from the Plymouth Gladiators, and he's been chatting after the meeting to Ryan Guest.
Well, Paul Stark, obviously from the off, with everything that happened tonight, the Brummies always up against it.
Oh, it was always going to be tough. Yeah, just against it from the word go. But yeah, I struggled, I think, just with setup and personal fitness. I think so I haven't been on the bike for a while, so it was a bit of sweating. But yeah, we were against it, and yeah, it was always going to be tough. But we fought hard, and I struggled, but I'll get there. When
you haven't had a competitive team fixture for a month or over a month, it's always going to be tough. But certainly can see some encouraging signs from those last 2 outings.
Yeah, well, once we changed, once I got back into it a bit in the last 2, we started to get going a bit and started to mix it up, and I think it's a big exciting actually at times, so yeah, it was good to watch maybe, but yeah, I want to get some wins on the board next time, and we'll certainly do that. Yeah,
and like you say, the team situation is what it is at the minute. We'll wait and see on that, but next week against Paul, it's going to be certainly another tough.
It is, they're a good side, but we're capable of it. If we'll do it at the same time on the day, then I'm sure we'll smash it. And from my personal point of view, I'll bring more to the table, and hopefully we'll have team problems sorted by then. Yeah,
and what was it like being back here at Perry Barr? I think you've only been back 3 times since you left in 2014.
I mean, yeah, it's 10 years ago really, wasn't it? That's great track, great place. I know so many people here and had some fond memories. So good to be back, and hopefully we can stay and put on a show and a performance for you.
So there's Paul Stark of the Birmingham Brummies. As was mentioned in that chat, it wasn't the ideal start to the meeting, with the Brummies hamstrung throughout their 53-36 loss to Glasgow, with number one racer Nick Morris deemed unfit to race shortly before the scheduled start time after failing to comply with the alcohol and doping test procedure, for which he's now been suspended pending an SCB court hearing. Similarly, there's also been changes to the lineup at Leicester as a result, with Troy Batchelor filling his spot in the Leicester team. So not an ideal situation, and of course there'll be more on that when the procedures are held with the SCB. Well, elsewhere in the Cab Direct Championship, the Oxford Cheetahs maintain their unbeaten record at the top of the Cab Direct Championship table with a 54-36 win over Edinburgh at Cowley last week. Skipper Scott Nicholls kept up his stunning run of form throughout the season so far with 16+1 from 6 rides as the Cheetahs overcame the absence of broken collarbone victim Lewis Kerr. Jordan Jenkins added 11. Sam Masters picked up 10+1 for the home side, whilst the Monarchs battled hard, led by Craig Cook with 13 points. The Poole Pirates, meanwhile, produced a strong second-half performance to overcome Berwick 54-36 at Wimborne Road. The Bandits' number one, Rory Schlein, was in excellent form as he picked up 14 points from 6 rides against his old club. But the Pirates again proved solid all-round on their own track. Skipper Steve Worrell led the way for the reigning Cab Direct Championship holders with 13 points, including wins in his first 4 rides, whilst Ben Cook added 10 points. It's been quite a time for rain-offs and whatnot over the last week or so. So we have had a number of fixtures become victim to the weather. Hopefully we'll have better luck this week. And here's a look ahead to the fixtures in the Cab Direct Championship over the course of the week. And it's a big one as we look towards the fixture on Wednesday at Cowley. The Oxford Cheetahs versus the Glasgow Tigers, the only 2 remaining sides unbeaten in the Cab Direct Championship. One of those sides is going to be beaten on Wednesday evening there, and that one is also live on BSN as the top 2 in the Cab Direct Championship clash. At Perry Bar, the Birmingham Brummies are up against the Poole Pirates. A bit of a plot twist in this one, with Danny King coming in to the Brummies lineup as a guest, and of course he faces his former side, the side he's captained to back-to-back league and cup titles. Danny King racing for the Birmingham Brummies on his former home circuit, of course, from way back when. That could be a wise choice of guest by Stuart Dixon there. We'll wait and see, of course, on that one. They've got their own local live stream from the Birmingham Brummies website if you want to catch that one. Looking ahead to other fixtures coming up then, on Friday we have action at Redcar, the Redcar Bears versus the Scunthorpe Scorpions. We've got National Development League action as the Bellevue Colts face the Edinburgh Monarchs Academy, and we've also got the next round of the British Youth Championships. In fact, I think it's the final round, with Ashton Bowden set to be crowned the 500cc champion. The 250cc championships come to a conclusion as well. And then on Friday, we've got the final of the BSN series, Glasgow Tigers facing the Poole Pirates. And that is going to be a big fixture, of course, for the Poole Pirates, who are 34 points ahead in that one at the halfway stage. Big task for Glasgow. Can they overcome that lead? Find out, again, that one live on BSN. And then on Saturday, the Berwick Bandits hosting the Edinburgh Monarchs in the Cab Direct Championship at 7pm. Again on BSN, that one. Then looking ahead to next week, the action gets back underway next Wednesday in the Cab Direct Championship. The Pirates against the Brummies, Oxford Chargers up against the Kent Royals in the National Development League. Looking at the other NDL fixtures, a fairly quiet week ahead, really. We've mentioned the other fixture between the Bellevue Colts and the Edinburgh Monarchs Academy. We've got Kent Royals against the Leicester Lion Cubs on Sunday at 12 noon. And then that's it for the National Development League over the forthcoming week ahead. Quick look at the league tables then as they stand, as we've already touched on, really. The Cab Direct Championship is led by the Oxford Cheetahs. The Glasgow Tigers are in second. The 2 sides remain unbeaten and face each other on Wednesday. The Pirates are third, 6 meetings ridden on 11 points. The Scunthorpe Scorpions currently fourth, having ridden 9 and on 11. Redcar Bears fifth, 7 ridden and 7 points. The Birmingham Brummies have ridden 7, have got 4 points. Edinburgh Monarchs are in 7th, having ridden 7 meetings and 2 on the board. And also with 2 on the board, 6 ridden though, the Berwick Bandits and the Plymouth Gladiators at the bottom of the table at the moment. Ridden 7, they've got 2 points. That's how things look in the Cab Direct Championship. National Development League table, ever-changing there. The Mildenhall Fen Tigers lead the way, 9 ridden and 15 on the board. Last year's finalists looking to go one better this year. The Oxford Chargers are in second place. Bellevue Colts third. Leicester Lion Cubs fourth. And then it's the Workington Comets, Edinburgh Monarchs Academy, Kent Royals and the Berwick Bullets, who are on 2 points and 10 meetings ridden. So not going particularly great for the Bullets there. But we'll keep an eye on the situation. It can change very fast indeed in the National Development League, as we well know. And need to say a huge congratulations to the guys who have been involved away overseas in SGP3 and SGB4. Well done to William Cairns and Cooper Rushen on making it to the final of SGP3 on Friday, and then on Saturday as well to Oliver Bovington, who put in a great performance at SGP4. All great experience as well for the guys, and well done for representing and getting through to that stage as well. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a bit of a longer one than normal this week, but lots of stuff in there, and I hope you found it useful. And next week, of course, we'll be in the middle of World Cup week. Who knows what's going to happen there? But we'll be back with you next week, next Wednesday, for the next episode of No Brakes, No Fear. Have a great week.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Sports Social Podcast Network.